what can happen on YouTube also. And I will start to present. Welcome, Silvana, and welcome, Stefania. So I have, yes, I'm just on YouTube also, and I will just share with you, Silvana and Stefania, my enthusiasm to have as a guest Silvana Vasitova today, who is one of the, for me at least, the pioneers of Agile coaching, and yes, and a pillar of the international Agile community. Someone very thoughtful, wise, and inspiring. And I had the pleasure to meet Silvana years ago. I think it was at the retrospective gathering. I'm not sure when we met.
It was Italy, Coach Camp Italy was the first.
Coach Camp Italy, okay, so it was Coach Camp Italy, a beautiful place in Umbria, I remember. We kept connected since. We crossed in Agile in Europe also, which is a great European event for the Agile community. So Stefania, you're invited, and all the people that will watch the recording, you are invited. It's in Toulouse, beautiful Toulouse, France, from 24th to 27th of 26th of August this year. Silvana also was an organizer of Agile 2018 in Prague.
Sorry, 2018.
17, I think. But anyways.
One of those.
One of those. One of those. In beautiful Prague. And Silvana also organizes the Agile Coach Camp Czechia. So yes, Silvana, you are one of the most active members in our community, and I'm delighted to have you as a guest today to have this dialogue about Agile leadership. These dialogues on Agile leadership, I have initiated them last year. It was an idea for celebrating 20 years of the Agile Manifesto, and saying what Agile, and mainly Agile leadership, which is one of my my areas of interest, became 20 years after. And it went very well as an event. And I said, well, let's keep it going, keep the groove. And there are so many brilliant people to be interviewed and have dialogues with. So I'm continuing, and this year we can celebrate 21 years of the Agile Manifesto. Now it reached maturity, isn't it? Can go to pub in the US. And the interview will be about 30 minutes. So I will ask you some questions, Silvana, maybe 20 minutes, and then we'll have a dialogue with the participants. Today we have a special exclusivity for Stefania, who came alive. Right. If that's okay for you, let's start. So Silvana, I already mentioned 20 years of the Agile Manifesto. We talk a lot about the Agile mindset since the beginning. For easy question, what means for you today Agile leadership?
Agile leadership is, so first of all, thank you for the kind words and saying such nice things about me. And Oana, you for me are also I see you as a pillar, and you are somebody who's special to me for both personal and professional reasons. And I am delighted to be part of your activities anywhere, anytime, including today.
Thank you. Thank you, Silvana. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, so back to the question. Agile leadership is about achieving results. For me, it's always about achieving results, but with minimal waste, minimal intervention, minimal, or let's say maximal use of the human potential.
Mm.
Absolutely maximal. And for me, the maximal use of human potential means reducing bureaucracy to minimum, being just in time, being responsive to changing market conditions, being able to respond to any opportunity without the shackles of, oh, we planned the budget last year, we don't have that in our roadmap, therefore we can't respond to an opportunity that arises. So in short, agility is to achieve results with maximum leverage of the human potential that's available.
Mm. Mm.
And the negative side of that is minimizing waste, reducing bureaucracy, reducing the have some rules, but not have the rules dictate and shackle in a way that opportunities cannot be responded to.
Mm. Mm. Thank you, Silvana. You mentioned all this about what agility is. What is for you a manifestation of leadership in this context, and to support what you just said about having results with minimum waste?
So for me, the best example of leadership in this spirit is you, I'm sure, are aware of the story and the book and the videos of David Marquette from Turn the Ship Around, where he was brought in from, he was commander of one type of ship in US Navy, and was brought to a completely new ship that he had to commander and he had no experience with, and decided that I will trust my crew and let them make all decisions. Yes, run it by me and make their recommendations, but I'm going to trust them. And the only decision that he kept to himself, let's say the only veto power, was when to fire a missile. And everything else about running the ship, he did not need to micromanage the people who know how to run the ship. He needed to trust them. And with that philosophy, with that approach of leadership, the ship performed way better than it used to and outperformed other ships on the metrics that matter to the Navy. And for me, that is an example of leadership, is trust your people to do their job. Trust that they care, trust that they want to do their job well, trust that we hire the right people, the right skill set, and trust them to do it.
Beautiful, beautiful, Silvana. I love this example, as you said, as David Marquette, which was, and it makes me think how you can embrace your individual responsibility. As you said, that the only control he had is to fire, to fire the nuclear weapon, because it was a nuclear submarine, and that is because that he can't give that responsibility to other people. You know,
and ultimately the buck stops here, and ultimately he's the commander, he has that ultimate responsibility, but everything else that could be delegated. Yes.
Exactly. So that this responsibility and what you say, the trust that the people care and are experts. What did you observe that today? Do you have examples that you observe today, and how easy did you observe that this can happen on the field in your experience as a coach?
I have
Trust the teams.
certainly
Yeah.
experienced, I have observed and experienced that with a number of the teams and organizations I have worked with. I have seen that happen. Also, I have seen it happen in some pockets where it's not happening in the neighboring pockets. So it does create friction within the organization. And obviously it creates opportunities for people like you and me to come and help these organizations to achieve better performance. But yes, I have, there are a number of people, I won't mention names at the moment, but certainly people and clients I have worked with who I have great respect because they do operate in this manner with this philosophy.
And what did you observe? What are the ingredients that were required, that they had? What was their skills or their magic power that made them be like that, have that?
One person
mindset?
in particular that I have in mind is not only was he open to new ideas, he was hungry for how can things be better. Not just I want better KPIs than last year, but very much, oh, we're operating well now. How can we operate even better? And what other ideas are out there? And very, very open-minded to hearing these ideas, even if his initial reaction was really like, which is typical reaction to anything that's different from how we are used to doing it. Something that's counterintuitive or counter to our experience, especially experience that we have done for years and years, and it's produced results. How can doing it differently produce something else or something better? That skepticism is quite natural. So in this particular individual, even with that skepticism, he certainly was, in a number of our conversations, he would, I could sense and I could feel that, yeah, the wheels were turning, and he was looking at, what could that mean? How could that mean? And then the next sentence or a few minutes later, the processing has concluded to saying, okay, let's try that, or let's do that. And I know that some of the things that I was suggesting were different from his environment and from how the normal operating procedures were. And yet we accomplished so many wonderful things in that engagement.
Beautiful. What you're saying now, what I understand is that along with trust in the teams,
Yes.
there's another quality to have that the leaders, agile leaders, have, is I wish to call it open curiosity. I don't know if there is anything like closed curiosity, but that's what comes into my mind. It's this curiosity to explore other things and let oneself surprised.
Yes,
Eventually.
the curiosity, definitely, and the willingness to experiment. So yeah, that's part of curiosity. But curiosity could be just, passive curiosity of, oh, tell me something new, but to actually have some skin in it and to say, okay, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to try something new. Let's do it that way. That is the next step. It's not just openness to ideas, but even to doing and being. And that when those elements are present, then we can really work on the agility of the organization.
Yeah, that's great. This willing to experiment, as you said, and there's something I hear, and I want to ask you. That's like I was mentioning openness, openness to any outcome, because an experiment doesn't have a given, can have an expected result. But how about leaders embrace unexpected results?
Unexpected result is one thing. Embracing failure is another, right?
Okay.
And acknowledging that experiments carry that risk of it may work, it may not. So unexpected results, the openness to that is fine. But acknowledging that, as the story goes, Edison found 1,000 ways that did not work before finding the way that worked. That 1,000 ways, that is a huge commitment, dedication, perseverance. And in the case of Edison, we can say that he knew, because we don't know that he knew, but that he knew there was something in there and he just needs to find a way, and he just kept at it, and that was perseverance. But in the case of today's business, there is no guarantee if we take an experiment that it will work. So there needs to be both openness to that. And this is why in Agile we also say, if there is a risk, then do a small experiment. So if it doesn't work out, you're not risking too big a jump or too big a potential loss, right? And then one of the beauties about doing something like 2-week sprints is every 2 weeks we can assess and we can adjust our trajectory, our direction, our approach. And with that, we can reduce the risk and still experiment. So openness to that and acknowledging that it may not work out needs to be there. That is a bit more rare, but again, from Agile perspective, our recommendation of do small experiments helps keep the trust, and reduce the potential downfalls.
Yeah, because what I'm hearing is that leadership need to embrace the exposure to failure. And for you, how, if an Agile leader, how can he or should he or she react in a situation of failure?
Reaction to failure needs to be, okay, there's a lesson in this and let's keep moving, right? That really needs to be the reaction. And there are companies where this is practiced. There are some well-known companies where this is already a reality. So it's not that new. It is new in places where this is not the case, or it is especially jarring in places where failure is met with punishment, or with bad reputation, or with so-and-so failed on such project, we can't give him or her the next big project because this guy is a failure, or which may not be true, and may not even be completely within the control of that one person. But the social punishment or the corporate ladder punishment is a reality that in some places makes people not want to risk failure.
Yeah, that's so important. And the question that comes to me right now is, how can we bring Agile and, this is my clock, and this, saying that we are halfway through our dialogue, and I will definitely stop in 10 minutes. I have tons of questions, but I would like to give, of course, Stefania the opportunity to ask you a question. So let's say that I will ask this last question before I open to our dialogues or dialogue with Stefania also. How can we give a chance to those cultures, corporate culture, where failure is followed by punishment, to grow Agile leadership?
Mm-hmm. It can't happen just like that. It can't happen immediately. So my usual approach is to, with introducing agility, look for ways to deliver early results so we can establish a little bit of trust and a little more openness to let's try something new. Because just introducing Agile way of working, introducing Scrum or Kanban is already introducing something new. And I mean, let's face it, in some of these long-standing corporations, people have seen new processes come and go, over the years. Okay, what's the new flavor? What's the new thing this time? And if we, with introducing agility, we show that some things are better and some things have improved. If that is visible, tangible, then we can say, okay, let's try the next step. Let's try the next step. So it's really a step-by-step building the trust in the process, the trust that we're not snake oil salesmen, but we're introducing something that gives them what they want, and then open the door to the next, like to level up. Okay, the next level of trust is, and the next level of trust is to say, there is possibility to do something. There is a possibility of failure, but let's try it anyway, because the alternative is we keep doing the same thing and getting the same results.
Yeah, great, Silvana. I still have just one last question because it was so inspiring what you said. So this, as you said, baby steps to build baby steps trust. How can you support internally that people grow in this mindset and become Agile leaders? And then I'll leave the floor to Stefania.
I invite people to try new things. And so in our dialogue, I invite people to think differently and to think about the what if, and to think of, if we keep doing it the same way, it will always be the same result. But what if we do something differently? And that is an invitation to experiment. So the language may not even say the word experiment, but the approach certainly does. And sometimes people respond with, wow, I never thought of it that way. Oh, this is a breath of fresh air, and I like the results, and I'm ready to either take the next step or keep going in this direction. I mean, certainly a number of my clients have said, there is no going back. I don't want to do things the same way as before. So some of that is working.
Yeah. Thank you, Silvana. I love to conclude my set of questions with what you said, the what if, which opens the door of new possibilities and is also supporting hope. I love this question, what if? It's an invitation. Yeah, thank you. And with this invitation, Stefania, you have
Yeah,
questions.
this opportunity. Thank you for that, for this opportunity. Yeah, so I was taking notes and I was thinking about this conversation, and actually, the last sentence really resonated with me, because I was thinking, okay, but what is, so I assume, this is my assumption, that you are also role modeling agile leadership in some way. So what are you doing to be a role model?
One of my role modeling is, for example, to ask other people for input. So not just say, I have my answers and that's it. I encourage the conversation and the new ideas, and positively reinforce the ideas, right? So that alone is inclusivity and opens the door to all voices are being heard, or all ideas are being heard, and let's try something we haven't tried. So that thinking is included in that. And the other thing that, I mean, that's a huge part. Hearing all voices, especially in places where people are used to being told what to do, and then suddenly, oh, what, you want to hear my opinion? Or if I give you my opinion, will anything change? And to actually show that we are acting on your idea, your proposal has the consequence of we're doing it, right? Those are incredibly empowering for people who are used to just being told, or have been in places where their ideas don't even have space, they don't get airtime. Another modeling thing that I'm very conscious about is, if we promise to do something, if I promise to do something, then to do it. Yeah. And I mean, this is actually one of the simplest examples of this is, if a team holds retrospective and makes some decisions about what to do, we better show that it is being done. Doesn't matter who's doing it, and if it's an action item for the team, reminding the team that this needs to be pursued because this is something that you decided. And with retrospectives, longtime agilists know that that is actually the pathway to improving working conditions, right? But with many teams who start out or who just pay agile lip service, it's like, oh yeah, we did it, but nothing ever changed. Well, if nothing ever changes, then it is a waste of time. But the question is, how come nothing ever changed? What happened with those decisions? So this is one of the modeling, is to actually open the door to hearing other voices, and then to actually acting on those suggestions, on those ideas or decisions.
And another point that we haven't touched yet is, and for me it's really important, is maybe also related to give more transparency, how we are measuring the impact that we are having. This is it's a pain point for me. Every time someone is asking me, okay, but how we can say that we are going in the right direction? And it's so hard for me to understand what are the metrics that I can have to show that, even for me, not only for the company, even for me to, because yes, I can do survey, but I cannot link to the delivery. I'm not the only one supporting the delivery. So it could be a shared metrics. What's your suggestion here?
Sure. So The business metrics I would take as still being relevant. So sometimes the business metrics show that there is an improvement. In one specific case, one particular process of generating invoices or statements was taking something inordinate, like over 24 hours. And maybe the team was not fully aware of that, but when we highlighted that and said, okay, this is taking this long, and my statement was actually, if that was my process, I'd be embarrassed. And asking the team to look into how to make it work better. And within, I think, a month, within 2 sprints, something short like this, that team did it. And so that business metric alone shows that, they achieved something useful. They achieved something meaningful. They achieved something to be proud of, because they shaved it from something that was over 24 hours to 6, right? And that was incredible, right? And I actually said, well, if you reuse it below 20, I will buy you a beer. So, that was one of the best incentives that I invested in, was just a case of beer, right? But the business result was incredible, and the sense of satisfaction, that sense of accomplishment, those guys working on it and knowing that they did it, the amount of momentum that generated into future. So the business results still matter. Then there are the less tangible metrics, but even things like, are you feeling more appreciated? Like just the employee satisfaction questions, right? And in one place we measure the employee satisfaction, and we measured, is that increasing or not? And the increase in employee satisfaction, we interpreted that as saying our workplace is better. And that means something to us, right? So decide which metrics you want to measure, but decide on the ones that are meaningful, and then really work it.
Yeah. This is I'm jumping in, Silvana, for 1 minute. This is so important what you're saying about how visible impact is a source of empowering.
Empowerment, yeah.
Yeah, this is so important. And what I understand what you said is also something very important about your question, Stefania, is how you can measure impact. I think the first thing, as you said, business or more quality metrics is ask that question up front, is what is the impact you want to see? And then you put in place things that empower teams to see if that impact is achieved or not, so improved.
Or at least improved.
Yeah, at least improved. Because one of the things today, as you said, is that, well, we do agile transformation, whatever, and then how do we know that we've done it? But we didn't think it's, okay, if it's a success, how it will be. So that's, for me, that's the easy thing. And this is what I understood you said also, is you project yourself in a concrete, better situation. Yeah, thank you for that, Silvana.
Thank you.
When it works, sorry, Stefania, when it works, that sense of satisfaction is incredible. Go ahead. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, nothing. I was saying that, yes, this is useful. I think that coming back to what you you said, Silvana, about ask other people, no? Oana just said maybe you have to just ask what you want to see, what is the impact that you want to see, and start from this and build the metrics related to the impact that the people would like to see. So yeah, I think is something that now is very clear now for me. Thank you for this. And then I have another question. So I am intrigued by the word leader. And my curiosity is, if I imagine this leadership, agile leadership, sometimes to me are a dichotomy, because I can see, maybe it's a wrong assumption, but I can see this leader that is leading, so follow me, no, instead of maybe supporting, like you are saying now. And to have this impact, are you creating a community around you? You mentioned something like this, now you are opening the space, but I think that you cannot do alone, no, in a company. So are you creating, what are you doing to create the space?
Definitely, I rely on collaborators for at least two reasons. One is if the organization is to change, there needs to be change happening in many individuals. Yeah, because it's not just going to happen on its own. If people's thinking is not changing, then there will always be the, oh, I suggest this. No, we're not going to, right? So people necessarily also need to change. And within those who are changing, so the people who I work with first, I do look for allies and people with whom we can combine forces. Again, for two reasons. One plus one is more than two, right? And when there's two or n of us doing this, then 1 plus 1 is more than 2 to the power of n, right? Because of the number of people. So I look for allies and collaborators that way. Starting point is the people I work with directly, and then branch out from there as far as it's possible. So for example, in one organization, it does mean leveraging the other agilists. And agilists, not just people with the agile title, not just the agile coaches and the scrum masters, but anybody whose thinking is agile, leverage, collaborate. Let's do things together. Let's help him or her in what they're doing, because their success is my success too, and it's our success together. How's that?
How can you just identify them? Like they can have just sprinkle in their eyes. What?
Yeah. So definitely you can't just go through the phone book. Yeah, that doesn't work. So I do identify them through the contact, yeah, who I work with, or maybe I don't work with I certainly don't work with everybody. So sometimes it is reputation of, oh, so and so over there, they're working this way, or they're trying to achieve something. Then I may want to combine forces, or I may look for opportunities to inject into it and also include them in something that I'm doing. So one is the direct contact, and the second is the reputation of, who else is along the same path or thinking the same way, and how do we combine our efforts? Because doing it alone, not only is it lonely, but it is too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
And not
leverage
funny.
and
And not funny. Doing alone is not funny for me. The
No.
funny part is sharing, no?
the sharing and knowing that it, you know,
You
the
can
1 + 1
build.
is you build ideas and then somebody else
Yeah.
adds something, say, and how about this and how about this, something that on my own I would not have built it that way. And by thinking, talking about it and collaborating with other people, it's so much better. Yes. So from that perspective, I look for collaborators.
I love this, what you're saying, Silvana. I'll step in with one question, if I may, because that was inspiring. What you mentioned about how you can create new, surprising things beyond what you expected, and also feed this need we have, all of us, of belonging. We all need to belong to a community. What you said about this generative solutions, because you build on and you build on. I wonder what, I want to know more your thoughts on inclusivity. You mentioned inclusive. How are you able to include other voices or hear other voices that are maybe not in this like-minded, but they can also bring creativity and contribute to ideas? So yeah.
So one of my guiding principles around that is I don't have the full truth. So hearing other voices and other approaches is likely, potentially, enrichment for me as well. Yes, it takes more effort. It takes, consciously listening to something that I may not agree with, right? But at the same time, at the very least, it's a learning opportunity. And at the very best, it is an enrichment of what we want to accomplish. So that openness that I ask my clients and that I guide my clients towards, I better have that openness too. And yes, I will admit sometimes it's hard. And there are some voices I'm tired of. It's an echo of something and something. On the other hand, no two people are the same. And even if it's the same refrain or okay, let's call it the same excuse, let's say. This person may change in the next minute. This other person may change 2 weeks later. Some other person may change 2 years later. We don't know. And we won't know unless we give that opportunity, not just to hear the voice, but to have that dialogue and collaboration happening. And that I've seen many, many times. And some people, there was one particular individual, I was surprised that this person became my ally in less time than I expected. And then another person, wow, after a long time, is still not ally enough. We're aligned in some things, but not on everything, right? But we don't know in advance. So that openness needs to come from me as well.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge and thank you for your alignment. As you said, that if you ask the openness for the people that you coach, you better have that also. And that's so important. So thank you for that. Yeah, just wanted to acknowledge. We have 10 minutes to go, Stefania. So if feel free if you have other questions.
I have another, if I may. And so, do you have any good practices, suggestion while you are working with the C-levels? I mean, I can say in my experience, they are too busy. So having a conversation, it's not always possible. So any tips that you can share on how to deal with people that are maybe yes, I don't want to say too busy because this is another topic, but you know what I mean.
So let's label it differently. People's time is valuable. Yes. That's also your time. That's also my time. And there are people who get paid a lot more, and a lot more is expected from them. So when I enter that conversation, I need to be prepared. And not that I am not prepared when talking to people with less pay, but you know, the pattern of thinking and the speed of decision making and the impact are different. Yeah. So let's talk about the impact, because that is clearly different. So I need to enter that conversation with my ducks in a row. You know, I have my data, I have my examples, I have this, that to share with them. Then the conversation happens. They're human. They will have the same skepticism as what I mentioned before. They will have their habits. They will have the path that brought them to success and brought them to where they are now. And so they trust that path. They trust the way they've done it, their ways of working. And to invite that openness and to give ideas or suggestions or examples of what is where and how things could be different, right? So that conversation happens on human level. I am mindful that the impact of the decision could be, much more wide ranging than if it was with somebody else. What has helped in my conversations with C-levels is that I give examples that they know are true, or they, so both my experience and my knowledge and things I have read or things I have seen. If I give a suggestion, I can back it up with, this was the result over here. This is what happened over here. And that helps in building trust. So yes, the pattern of how the conversation flows and what we touch on, there is a pattern in that, but there is also depth. That depth needs to be there.
Wonderful. What makes me think of, and I thought that generates a question, what needs, in your experience, what is needed to onboard the C-level in the transformations, so that they are aware that they also need to transform?
I start with asking the question of, are you happy with how things are now? If they're happy, just keep going. If they see that there is room for improvement, then the next question is, are you prepared to do some things differently? That old adage of the same approach that got you here will not solve today's problems and get you to something else. So we will need to try something else. And I offer to guide them with my best efforts and knowledge and experience. And they can validate that this is the right approach at regular intervals, and we can always change direction. Well, that sounds like sprint cadence and small experiments, right? So the lingo may be different, but it still is the same approach of so yes, we need to do something different. And based on what happens over here, what happens over there, what we know from Agile Manifesto that's 21 years old, these approaches can work and have produced results elsewhere. Would you like to try them? And then either they say yes, let's try it, or they say no, in which case we don't.
That's for sure. That's for sure. So yeah, I said my clock is a present, so I let him just say what. Actually, we still have 2 minutes. Thank you, Silvana, for that. My question was really because it's something that for me is important, and my experience was that C-level are very well intentioned and are willing to make things different by their teams. So the idea is what is needed to create awareness that they are also involved, and they as individuals need also to change. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's once they get involved, the momentum picks up. Yeah.
Thank you. So Stefania, if you have a last burning question.
I am very grateful to this opportunity to be here with both of you. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. So then I will close up. We can close this this dialogue, beautiful dialogue. Thank you, Silvana, for being so inspiring as ever, for your beautiful, mindful presence. And thank you, Stefania, for having joined us tonight. And for your time, because as Silvana says, your time is valuable. So your time, Silvana, is valuable. Your time, Stefania, is valuable. And thank you for offering your evening to this dialogues on Agile leadership. On this momentum, I will invite you to follow the meetup on dialogues on Agile leadership and see what is next. And see you next time. I will just
thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you both.
Bye. I just stopped the recording, so yeah.
We're still live on YouTube now.
Yeah, it's still live on YouTube. I don't know if it's live on YouTube.
It says on my screen we're live on YouTube.
Yeah, normally it's not live.